my name is Ricky Dillon. I am a CEO and a superintendent for Kepler Neighborhood School. We're located in Fresno, California. Thank you for having me. It's so amazing to see what you all do and the transformative educational journey that Dr. Gandhi and her family and her team had brought to not just to India, but the entire world. We have amazing people online on Zoom, and I would love to introduce them. Dr. Gandhi for inviting us and taking it beyond India. This is so inspirational. And you know, when we first met, I just wanted to say that the kids are the kids, no matter where they reside, what they do, right? The kids are kids.
Absolutely.
I don't know. One of the idea behind education is that people usually place it on behavior management, just in case, you know, if the kid is, there's no academic achievement success, they usually have a lot of labels to give it to kids. But Alpha removed those barriers and went to slums and went to different countries and introduced that program, which basically removed those barriers. So I wanted to say that's an amazing milestone in the educational journey. So thank you for bringing that to us, and you know, and making us see your vision through your lens, through the lens of India. Do you want to say something about Alpha? Because I'm sure we wanted to hear from you. Just a few words, and then we can move on to the Zoom and introduce our people.
Ricky, actually, I want to hear your story and the story of those in the Zoom room with us, the most amazing people who are doing such incredible work. And these are the people like you who are willing to embrace the change and trust that this might just work out. So we have Kenya, we've got Ghana, we've got Peru, we've got Malaysia, and we have got one other country.
Africa, too.
Africa, of course, there are two countries.
Peru.
Peru, of course, yes, of course, Miguel from Peru. So really nice to see you all and have you all here with us. And as Ricky Dillon, who is an American, she looks Indian, she's from Indian origin, but she's an American. And she has been so daring, because it takes, and let her be the first one to say a little bit about, because she's already begun, little bit about the change that she has made possible. It's not just, oh, it's Alpha, let's go adopt it. It's not like that, not in America. There's so many legal cases, so many people who go after you. If you just get one step wrong, it can cost you your job. It is that difficult to bring about change in the United States of America. So many lobbies that pull and push in different directions. In California, they've just instituted, the government has said that there will be science of reading way of teaching language. Teachers get very little flexibility to do what they want to do. And in that climate, to adopt something for your school because you want to give children a better chance is totally remarkable. I think she's a pioneer. She's somebody who I put in the highest regard because of her being able to take that risk of implementing that change. And I think that's where it all begins in America. And if it goes further in America, it will be because of her, because of Ricky Dillon. Obviously, she's the one who has taken the risk to get it going. We have, she says, many schools waiting. She'll tell herself, please do.
Implementing Alpha or any program in the U.S. is absolutely challenging because we have a lot of entities, especially political entities and government entities that allows you to put any sort of curriculum in front of a public forum. So which basically means that you have to have public vote on any sort of program that you wanted to implement or launch in the public unified school system. So yes, it was a challenging journey, but not so challenging because we actually saw the impact. So I had a bought-in from your vision because we wanted to do something. I mean, educators, you know, your child stays with us, especially in the US, 8 hours a day, and that matters. That's their second home, and it begins from home. And then, if whatever you're doing in a classroom matters, because that's what they're taking beyond classroom, and that's what we believe in, and that's what Alpha is about: changing the outlook on the education in a positive manner. So yes, it was certainly challenging having a buy-in from elected officials. Some, in India, usually it's ministers, educational ministers. So we have something similar over there. So, but we saw the data, we saw the publications in Harvard studies, and we did our own R&D, research and development, and then we said, okay, let's implement this. And then obviously we had to look into the financial and legal obligations of how much can we introduce and at what levels or which phases. So that was something that was we needed time to think about in terms of presenting to the public. So I'm trying to say it in a way which makes sense because every country has cultural and a different vocab for certain things. So as I'm thinking about how to present it to the audience. Not that you wouldn't understand, it's just that it makes a lot more sense on how I wanted to put my words into how difficult it could have been. But now it's just has been very transformative and natural. Yes, natural. So we introduced it fourth grade, first time in fourth grade. Unlike other countries, U.S. also has kids, especially after post-pandemic, that are reading at a lower grade levels. Reading and math are lower grade levels. So we had chose fourth grade level, and we introduced that about a year ago. We did the pre-test with our state standards in California, and then we did a pre-test with ALfA. They were reading at 20% level, so the fourth grade children were at like first grade level.
Did you hear that? She's saying that चौथी कक्षा के बच्चे वहाँ पर पहले ग्रेड के लेवल पे थे. 20% कैपेसिटी थी उनकी उस समय जब इन्होंने अल्फा को अपनाया था. ये है कहाँ की कहानी? अमेरिका की. हर देश में, ये आप सोचते हैं कि हमारे देश में कमी है, ये हर देश की कमी है. क्योंकि क्यों कमी है? Why it is such a difficult task is because the pedagogy is old. And this is where we are saying a pedagogical shift is necessary to bring about change. It's not about doing better, working harder, being smarter, being more creative, getting children to sit in pairs. Even that's not enough. It is a question of pedagogy. And when pedagogy changes, things can change. So she's sharing about fourth grade in which she did 45-day pilot last year. इन्होंने अपने कक्षा 4 में पायलट किया 45 दिन का, जिसमें हमने केवल इनको इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली दिया था. You have the books, but they only had electronic copy of the alpha material. And with using that, they worked on this with some of the teachers who agreed to do it. ये भी नहीं कि आप टीचर से कह सकते हैं कि आप प्रिंसिपल हैं कि सबको करना है. अमेरिका में ऐसा नहीं है. ठीक है, अमेरिका में टीचर को कहना पड़ेगा हाँ हम करने को तैयार हैं. आप सुन रहे हैं टीचर्स? शायद हम उस ओर जाएंगे किसी दिन, लेकिन अभी तो टीचर्स की, प्रिंसिपल की हम लोग सुन लेते हैं. वहाँ पे प्रिंसिपल जब कहती है तो पूछती है, विचार विमर्श करती है, कंसल्ट करती है, फिर कोई टीचर कहता है हाँ हम कर लेंगे. तो फोर्थ ग्रेड टीचर ने कहा हम कर लेंगे, और वहाँ से कहानी शुरू हुई. 45-day पायलट इन्होंने किया, और इस कक्षा में इनकी बिटिया भी थी. हर ओन डॉटर, शी हैड टू रिस्क her own daughter in that class.
So yeah, my child, she was in the fourth grade when we implemented this. So we have 2 sections of fourth grade, and again, everything is data. We have to present data to the counties, to the local government, making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, which means we're educating children and we are succeeding them academically. So we did that 45-day pilot program, and we collected data, and it was a success. So when we tested kids in April, which is a California standard testing dates, so I think they're called final exams.
Yes.
We did our interim assessments, and then we did the final assessments, and the kids who were actually in the first grade levels, they tend to be in a third grade level within 45 days.
So कह रही हैं कि जो कक्षा 4 के बच्चे थे, 45 दिन पहले वो कक्षा 1 पर थे. जब उन्होंने एनुअल टेस्ट किया जो इनका अप्रैल में होता है, जो कि स्टैंडर्ड है गवर्नमेंट का, तो उसमें वो कक्षा 3 स्टैंडर्ड पे पहुंच गए थे मात्र 45 दिन में, ये कह रही हैं।
Yes, and then also a lot of those kids, you know, usually when kids are not succeeding academically, they put the certain labels. Not that they have any sort of impaired disability, but then there are some that may have cognitive disability. So they usually, what other departments do is they usually label the child, you know, and this is something that they have. They need a separate test setting. So those kids that tested at first grade levels, we had mostly kids in fourth grade, and then we went up to do the post test, which is the annual test. Those are the kids with special education needs actually improved a lot. So when we looked at their scores, I mean, they were the ones, and we didn't provide any sort of special treatment. It's because of how the alpha is written, and that's how they were able to improve. I mean, I couldn't believe when we saw the data and we saw what alpha did to our children, especially the special education needs students, because they were among those kids. It was I was flabbergasted. And it was mind-boggling to see what a 45-day challenge could do with an alpha. The way, so I wanted to, kind of give in kudos to you. The way it's written helps any sort of child who may not be labeled. So it wasn't just the kids who were just behind or anything. I mean, they didn't have any sort of physical disability. It was just a cognitive disability, which we improved drastically. So, and then then I took the data back to my board and to the State Department, and then they said, you can introduce that in more grades. So we are really hoping to introduce throughout our school next year. We improvised in 3 grades already, so that was just.
अब इन्होंने ऑलरेडी अडॉप्ट कर लिया, इनको जाना पड़ा अपने बोर्ड के पास अप्रूवल के लिए, और साथ में जाना पड़ा स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के पास कि हम ये कर सकते हैं कि नहीं। जब उन्होंने देखा, रिजल्ट्स देखना उनके लिए बहुत ज़रूरी था, जब उन्होंने रिजल्ट्स देखे तो इनको परमिशन दी कि ये इस साल कुछ कक्षाओं में लगा पाएं, और अगले साल ये सारी कक्षाओं में पूरे साल का कोर्स कर रही हैं और करेंगी। इस साल 2 क्लासेस में, अगले साल अगले क्लासेस में भी लेंगी, और पूरे साल का कोर्स, मतलब पूरा इनका जो पेडागॉजी बदल जाएगी स्कूल की, वो हो जाएगी अल्फा।
Yes, thank you to you and your team who worked. I mean, there were Zooms, there were trainings like at 8 in the morning of US time, and there was like 8:30 here in India, and you guys stayed online for for 2 hours until 10 p.m. or sometimes until 11 p.m. It was just amazing how Dr. Gandhi initiated that personally. With that being said, Dr. Gandhi, let's hear from the people who are waiting from Zoom, and let's hear their thoughts. Leslie is a renowned educationist and a tireless advocate for educational equity in Ghana. So she's from Ghana. As an unwavering crusader against all odds, she has dedicated his career to improving learning outcomes for all, particularly the marginalized. Her relentless efforts have made a lasting impact on Ghana's education landscape, driving innovative solutions and policies that uplift the quality of education for future generations. So Leslie, we welcome you to ALfA. If you could just please unmute yourself and share your thoughts.
Just a big thank you to Devi and to the ALfA family in India for inviting us here in Ghana to be a part of this amazing network of educationalists. I'm so impressed with the pedagogy and the methodologies that have been put on the ground in so many of these countries. And we had the bounty of starting this program last year with Sunita and her team. And we just want to give a big thank you. The results are very impressive. I've been working in literacy in Ghana for the last 30 years, and mostly bilingual literacy in mother tongue and then transitioning to English. But given the complexities that were already discussed in the Kenya case, similar to Ghana, English is becoming more and more the lingua franca of the environments that we're working in. The problem is, of course, teachers do not any longer speak as much of the mother tongue as needed. So we and the Olinga Foundation have been promoting a bilingual literacy approach across Ghana and some of the West African countries, and we're introducing the ALfA program as one of our mainstream programs in order to go straight into English, but at the upper primary level. The government's policies in Ghana allow for bilingual literacy between KG and P3, on P2 mainly. But we are working with ALfA on the upper primary level to remediate the crisis of learning in Ghanaian schools and, of course, across Africa. These are similar. It's a learning crisis, as we know. I just want to say a few words. The Olinga Foundation's been working for the last 25 years in Ghana on this bilingual literacy program. And in the last year, we've introduced the English program through the support from ALfA in both training as well as the provision of books that they've transferred all the way from India to Ghana, which was very helpful. We pilot tested this modality in one of the most deprived areas of the eastern region, which is only an hour and a half from the capital of Accra. And you'd be surprised to know that the conditions are very similar to what we'd see in deprived rural areas of the Middle Belt and the northern region of Ghana, where there's very few teachers trained and the infrastructure is quite limited. And so we have deprived rural schools in this eastern region, which I'm just going to show you. This is the eastern region of Ghana, and we're working in the southern zone of this area called Suhum Ayenswano. And we've selected one of the most deprived areas in the eastern region, which is Anum Papapam, which is a small community in those areas. The district directors of education were highly motivated to allow us to pilot this program in 6 of the schools. That we work in about 50 schools in the eastern region in this area, but we piloted it in the most deprived area schools called Anum Papapam, where there's 6 focal Olinga schools, where we've been working for 7 years in bilingual literacy to remediate children at the upper primary level. So this was the first time that we really focused in on using English. So some of these children were already, of course, having exposure to bilingual literacy. But again, many of them were also struggling readers. The baseline took place in May of 2024, and we aimed for 45 days, but due to problems that we could not really control, the school system allowed for only 30 days, 35 days in some cases. So we're continuing with the program in this next year, which will allow us to, in this next term, to allow us for 15 to 20 extra days, ensure that we have 45 days in total. But there has been a breakage in terms of the literacy. What we can say is that each of the schools received the same intervention, 1-hour sessions in the school day, during the school hours. Teachers were asked to use one of their literacy periods, and the district directors of education enabled that. And then we had regular monitoring, and we trained about 12 teachers across 6 head teachers, and 450 students were met with this program, as well as it was focused on P4 and 5. So this year will be in P5 and 6 to track the same children. The outcomes were amazing. I mean, in that 35 days or 30 days of intervention, as an educationalist, I've had many programs through USAID and others, but this one seemed to have really hit the benchmark in terms of moving children. But you can see the proportion of children. We were using ACER tools from, the International PAL network. We had tested these for almost a decade using ACER tools in Ghana. So we were familiar with those usages, and we were testing children in English in using a test that would allow us to see both an intervention, 3 intervention and 6 non-intervention schools with the same proportion of children across these schools in the same cohort of classes, P4 and 5. A change from lower levels of reading, which allowed students in often just being able to break through to few words at the lower level 1 and 2, to actually transferring their competency to level 5 and 6 within that 35-day period. So you see now in the ALfA focused schools, 66% of the children were at about a comprehension level and able to now break through to literacy and reading at that higher level of about a paragraph or a sentence and understanding, with some understanding. We added the comprehension ourselves to the ACER test. So it was not only for them to be able to read that sentence or paragraph, but it was also able to understand with meaning. So the outcomes show that intervention schools had a higher proportion of students at story and comprehension level compared to the non-intervention schools, which we see here in the control group, which were mainly still at level 1 and 2. We introduced a very comprehensive baseline assessment with mixed method approaches of interviews and testing using ACER at the baseline and at P4 levels and at P5 levels 2 months later in August. So the intervention started in May and ended at the end of July because of the school calendar. And we were able to reach those 35 days, but we will continue. So in just looking at the, let's just take a look quickly at the P5 intervention compared to non-intervention, where you see a shift in children's baseline and end-line results, where at the end baseline, a higher proportion were at initial levels of letter recognition, of word recognition, and then by the end of the 35 days, we could see many more children reaching reading comprehension. And so this was quite amazing for us as educationalists in the Olinga Foundation, and we're now in close collaboration with the district education offices in these two districts, and they want to, of course, go to scale, but we will be continuing with the end line before we engage with the government. So our conclusions are that the ALfA pilot demonstrated clear improvements in teacher practice and student literacy acquisition, as well as participatory feedback and the ability of children to speak out on issues. We also observed them in classrooms. The program has potential for broader implementation and scalability in Ghana and particularly in deprived areas. So the Ghana government, I'm sure, will be very excited to see this. The insights, of course, are that it is very student-centered. It accelerates literacy. And at least in these 30 days, it has been able, the challenge, of course, is to allow for a 45-day period in one term is very challenging right now in Ghana. But we are going to try and model it in the first or second term of the year instead of the final year. So it has to, the 45 days have to really be captured within one term or moving into two, but that's what we're going to try this year. There's need for more targeted interventions, possibly at P3 level, but I don't think because of the school policy and language that we can really do this in lower primary. So, and also to do with the competencies that we've outlined in terms of learning outcomes. So the next step is really to to introduce this to the national curriculum program with the Ministry of Education and likely pilot it again at P3 and 4 levels after we finish the first cohort, which will probably be in November. So we'll pilot it again in January in P3 and 4. And we just want to give a big thank you to Devi and Sunita and the team in India for allowing us to be part of this amazing movement towards literacy in Africa and South Asia and the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. That was amazing. 35 days and 66% growth rate, all because of the ALfA. The next, we move on to Omani Shanmugam. She's the founder and director of Radiant Gems Preschool in Malaysia and a dedicated educationalist as one of the pioneers in the country to implement the ALfA program in her school. She's committed to the innovative teaching methods and enhancing early childhood education. Through her leadership, Radiant Gems Preschool has become a model for quality and holistic learning in Malaysia. So share your thoughts and your feedback.
It is a privilege to serve alongside you in our collective effort to nurture the potential of every children, youth, and adult we encounter. As we serve our community, we often meet children, youth, and even adults who face the challenges in literacy and numeracy. This encounter reminds us of our own limitation how fragile we are. Sometimes we feel, even when we process virus skill and capability, it's become clear that something more is needed to guide us forward. So this really made me, when I first started Radiant Gems Preschool, I was determined to find a program that could offer both creative and joyful learning while also systematically addressing the need of our children. I wanted something that would not only help them grow in knowledge but also in spirit. In my search for idea, a dear friends introduced me to the Alpha program, and soon after I had the privilege to attending the Alpha Mood training. It's what wonderful. It was then that I realized this is what I had been looking for. Alpha gave me a hope, not just for myself and my school, but for others and future generations. Literacy and numeracy are fundamental to both material and spiritual progress, and Alpha offers a pathway to support this vital work. Since implementing Alpha at Radiant Gem Preschool, I have witnessed remarkable transformations. Children who once struggled have bloomed. Even they didn't know any words. But they developed very well. They are developing skill in reading and numeracy while learning in environment filled with joy. Most importantly, they are being empowered to dream, to grow, and to believe in their own potential. One of the most beautiful aspects of this program is the method of working in pairs, helping one another. This simple act encouraging children to participate spiritual quality like sharing, helping, being patient,
If anything, it's
and
just
taking ownership of their learning. This prevents them from becoming passive learners. A nature and active engaging spirit that I really can see in my children in my school. Because most of them, parents are those are looking for our religious school. They are found the other school not able to have them. So they, through this AFA program, the many parents realize this school will help their children. So this Alpha really helped them. Okay, through this experience and the new learning opportunity Alpha brought, I feel compelled to introduce to more school. I believe that with this program, we can continue to inspire joy in learning, cultivate essential like skills, and empower the coming generation. I'm deeply grateful to Alpha for being a source of light and inspiration. And to all of you for working this part together, I believe that together we are not only changing life, but creating a brighter future for the generation to come. Thank you, Alpha, for the gift, and thank you all for sharing this journey with me.
Mom Sally, if you can just say hello to the audience. You know, we wanted to recognize you, acknowledge you that you're there. Um, we also didn't have chance to hear from Caroline. If you can speak about like 2 lines, please, Caroline, if you can hear us.
We are focused on gender responsive pedagogy, and Alpha has also been part of the plan to be implemented alongside the gender responsive pedagogy, not only in early childhood education, but in education in in general, because our focus is basically basic education, yes, but we move up to tertiary levels to ensure that girls are skilled and there is a leveled ground that is given for both boys and girls. Now, to Alpha, we've had a collaboration in one of our poorest countries, Mali, where the literacy level generally was 30%, and worse off even for generally for the country, but worse off even for the ladies, that the young girls. that was at 22%. And I think that still presents a very good opportunity now that I'm also getting to see very good outcomes in areas where ALfA has been implemented. Otherwise, as far away we target with our models, we target out of school girls, especially after the COVID-19, and thereafter there have been floods, there have been drought, and especially where we work, we also get to have a chance to work in pastoralist areas, arid areas, just as Anthony had mentioned, and also in the slum areas of Nairobi. So I will not particularly say how much we have attained with the ALfA, but I just want to confirm to this meeting yet that yes, a conversation had already begun, and we were really looking forward to especially implementing it in one of our countries, Mali, as I've mentioned. I believe that conversation can go on beyond this. And I see potential, especially because we work in 34 countries and we know how the literacy level in Africa, if it among adults is quite poor, 67%, what about now for the grade 4 and all that? So it's a privilege for Fawe to have participated in this meeting, to get the strides made, especially with regards to ALfA in different countries and by different organizations. But it is also a platform to say that yes, we are a focused-based organization, an education-focused-based organization with the gender lens, ensuring that the ground is leveled for both boys and girls, and thereby making learning much quicker than it could have been if those disparities were left, in the open. So I don't think I want to say much on that.
Caroline represents almost this federation that she works for, represents 35 countries in Africa. Tony is a PMP, a certified project manager with 9 years of experience in non-profit section, which is specialized in leading complex projects, managing cross-functional teams, and driving process improvements. He holds a degree in education from Kenyatta University and a master's in project planning and management from the University of Nairobi, currently providing strategic leadership at the Community Progressive Focus Center. Tony ensures timely and budget-conscious project delivery. His expertise spans education, program design, data analysis, organizational development, and advocacy, with a focus on driving the growth of the ALfA program in Kenya.
My name is Tony Otachi from Kenya. I am spearheading the implementation of ALfA in under-resourced schools in the eastern parts of Nairobi. We started this journey just a few months ago in April 2024. And so far, ALfA, I should say, is a game changer. But before I talk about ALfA, I just want to appreciate Sunita for her leadership and her passion for education for the children of the world. I mean, it's amazing. And it is through her that we have embraced ALfA. And just to give you a snapshot of where we are, it is important that I take you through where we are coming from. So it is important that we understand where Kenya is coming from, especially when it comes to foundational education. During the monitoring of ALfA, there are challenges that we noted across all our partner schools. One of them is inadequate teaching and learning materials to support the ALfA implementation. And 2, because these are schools in underserved communities, there is a lack of space, especially in the classrooms, which inhibits the teacher-learner interaction and as well as peer collaboration. And these are issues that going forward, I know we can be able to address even as we implement the methodology. So where are we now in terms of the ALfA implementation? You've done a pre-evaluation of the targeted learners for the piloting of ALfA across all partner schools. And currently, we are in the third week of implementation of the 45-day RRI for ALfA pedagogy, focusing on the low resource partner schools in Nairobi, because that is where we started the program. And what you are looking at on the screen are photos of the teachers undergoing the training at Community Progressive Focus Center. And there's a photo of one of the children in one of our partner schools together with their teacher. And this was taken during the monitoring exercise. So that is the video for in terms of the challenges. We are facing some challenges in implementing the CBC, because one of the reports from the government says if there is need to achieve proficiencies in reading, writing, and arithmetic, then there is need to move resources to the regions where they are required. And then in some areas, language is a problem, because the cultural inclination of some of those communities, especially when it comes to education, is very wanting, especially in the pastoralist communities. There is also the resistance to new pedagogical methods. For example, across government, if you want to ask about ALfA and how it can be implemented in our local schools, one of the responses you might get is that we are only focused on implementing the CBC, and we want to make sure that it works. And going forward, our focus is on working with the government to ensure that ALfA becomes part and parcel of CBC implementation. And then two, we're going to advocate based on the data from our monitoring, make sure that the government adopts ALfA in the CBC, whether it is directly or through integration, to ensure that the learners are able to get the benefit of education. We are working together with the local stakeholders to ensure that this is achieved. And going forward, we are looking at more support from partners, more support from the government, access to resources and learning materials to ensure that we are able to spread ALfA across the country and across the region. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Feedback and constructive feedback. And I don't know, Dr. Gandhi, if you've heard, he's had many challenges, and they found innovative solutions, and 46 to 13 teacher ratios and 746 learners. I mean, that's just incredible in its own. Yes, it's a great start. Miguel Angel Pina Flowers. He is from Peru. Miguel has been involved in international volunteer projects in various countries, developing a wide range of skills. This year, he's focused on bringing quality education and innovation to the Amazon rainforest, working to improve the well-being of students in local schools. So, Miguel, if you could please share your thoughts and give us a feedback.
Well, I want to start with my story, how I started. In the pandemic, I saw big problems in education in my country, Peru. Because the school stopped, I realized that it was important to empower children in the schools. So in 2023, last year, I met Sunita, and she told me about ALfA program. And I was very curious how to do it here in the Amazon, because the Amazon has many problems. One of the problems, lack of infrastructure, proper infrastructure, good human capital, internet connection, bureaucracy, and nowadays there is a big problem with climate change. Many children in the Amazon, they need to take a boat to go to the school. But right now, the Amazon River has decreased the level of water. So there is no transport. So children cannot go to the school. So this is why it's very important to find solutions. And when we tried ALfA last year in 2 public schools, we saw positive results. And local teachers and local educational authorities, they were very impressed. They were amazed with the ALfA program. And one of the teachers, director teachers, she said that she never saw her students, children, reading the newspaper. She never saw it in 20 years of her profession as an educator. So she was almost crying in the band in December 2023. And for that moment, the local authorities, they show interest in us. And right now we're in the process to sign agreement with them, with the local authorities, because we know that in the Amazon rainforest, the education is very low quality for all the factors I mentioned before. So when I saw ALfA project working with positive results, and when I saw testimonials of the parents of the children, very happy, excited, and they were impressed because the children, they start reading more, and they were asking to the parents to get books for reading. So in the Amazon rainforest in Peru, it's not typical this. So with all these results, it show attention to the Minister of Education in my country, in Peru. And right now, we are in the process to show the ALfA program to the Minister of Education here, because we understand that ALfA is needed in Peru, in South America, in the world. In 45 days, we can see positive results around the world. And this is why I have this commitment to extend ALfA in the whole country, in Peru. And also I want to also say that right now with the climate change, it affects the education, because the rain, the flood, the flooding, the loss of transport or connectivity. We see this in South America with the fires in the Amazon right now, and also problems in different continents. So we need to think, how can we do faster? We have the solution with ALfA, 45 days. So I'm very happy.
Thank you, Miguel, for sharing your thoughts. Wow, he's working in Amazon forest. I mean, I'm like, it's just so mind-blowing to hear their stories. I hope you guys had a chance to hear him out. I know we had some technical glitches, but thank you, Miguel. That was amazing.
Working in the Minas region of Loreto County, if you like, and in that, it is landlocked. You can only fly into it. You cannot go by road into this Amazon forest area in Peru. And that's where he is working. This is the poorest region of Peru, and the poorest children in the poorest schools. And they are showing amazing results, and that's why they want to take it to the whole country. Ambition is huge. ज़रूरत है एग्जाम्पल सेट करने की, क्योंकि जब एग्जाम्पल होगा, उदाहरण होगा, तो विश्वास होगा. जब विश्वास होगा तो पूरा देश करेगा. तो अब इस पे ये कार्यरत हैं, और बहुत ही अमेजिंग है. इनका नाम है मिगेल एंजल है ये, बिल्कुल पेना फ्लोरेस, लंबा नाम है. और इनके साथ इनका जो छोटा एनजीओ, उसका नाम है आर्का बेटा. तो आर्का बेटा से ये करते हैं. और हमारी एक कॉन्वर्सेशन भी हुआ, इन्होंने अरेंज कराया, जो कि था यूनिसेफ पेरू के साथ, है ना. So that one conversation was very powerful. I was in Holland at the airport at some odd hour, and we were attending this together. And then another conversation took place with the World Bank in Washington. So that is with Jaime Savadra, who is the head of Latin America and the Caribbean, at the World Bank. He and some of the government authorities of Peru that he had got together, that is Miguel, had brought together, and his colleague. It was amazing that the World Bank was so interested in what Miguel is doing.
Eye-opening, and also hearing, now that we covered Asia, so 34 countries and runs Zanzibar. Okay, wow. So that's what Caroline represents. So we were about to go to China. I think next conference we'll hear from China because they're working on a kit in Mandarin. Oh, they finished. ALfA finished. Wow, I was just talking to Dr. Gandhi, and I was saying, every time I hear something, I'm impressed, and then she brings something else, and then I'm even more impressed. So I don't know. It's just they keep inspiring. She keeps inspiring me, and obviously the rest of you and the rest of the world that they are hearing and seeing us. So that being said, Dr. Gandhi, I give you the mic for a conclusion. Thank you so much for doing what you do for us, and on behalf of all the countries and U.S., I thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I am so delighted that we could make this presentation possible.